If your son wants to wrestle at one of the top Division I wrestling programs, here's a few notes here about the top 3 things that you need to do and have in place. Now, I say son because they don't have Division I wrestling for girls, all right? They just have NAIA programs as freestyle, still developing. But so if your son, let's say, wants to wrestle at one of the top 5 Division I wrestling programs in the nation, the ones that you see on the Big Ten Network, Flow Wrestling, kind of the famous ones. Obviously Penn State, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, which is where I wrestled. Iowa State's coming up, Iowa. Those are probably the top 5 now. Michigan's right in there. There's probably the top 6 at this point in time. This is what you need to do. Number 1, you have to win on the national level. And I'm not talking Kentucky Nationals. I'm talking the Virginia Beach NHSCA Nationals, which is often called Senior Nationals. But going your junior year is probably, I'd go as my freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. But your junior year is probably the most competitive, and that's when all the college coaches are really honing in on these guys. I know my son went and was actually 2 points away from placing. Boom, college coaches, a couple of famous ones calling. Very exciting, right? So you don't have to win it, but you either have to win it, place, or come very close. Remember, most of these famous college coaches weren't national champs in high school either, right? Most of them weren't even NCAA champions, but they were tops in the nation in high school. Let's say top 10, top 5. Maybe just top 20, but then they got in college. Most of them were All-Americans in college. Not all of them, but most of them were. A lot of them were NCAA champs, and there's even a few Olympic champions, right? But, extremely competitive on the national level. So, in my son's case, he didn't win or place at the national tournament, but he had a super tight match with one of the top kids in America, was in on him deep 3 times, and the coaches loved it, right? One of our best wrestlers that ever come through our program, Alex Clemson, is the assistant coach at Mizzou. 15 years ago, I guess, maybe longer. He was a senior, and I convinced him to go to senior nationals, and he was getting some, it was kind of late, right? We want to have our college scholarship thing lined up very closely before our senior year, if at all possible. But, after your high school season, your senior year, it's kind of crunch time, right? So going to senior nationals at that point in time in Virginia Beach, it can really help open up the spigot as long as you do well. Again, he was like 4-2, almost placed, beat one of the top kids in America. Coaches calling, ended up going to Edinburgh and was an NCAA champion. So there's another example. We've had a lot of kids that have gone there. Cody Compton, he went to senior nationals and won it. Matt Lester went there and won it. Zane Richards went there and won it. Keith Serber went there and won it. Drake Haldeshelt went there and got second. He was an NCAA champ. Daniel Lewis went there. I think he was third. He's fighting for the NCAA title this year. Alan Waters went there. I think he was also third. He's competing on the world level now. So there's 7 or 8 former athletes of ours who went there and won it or came very close. We've had quite a few kids go there and have a lot of success. But if you want to be a big-time Division I wrestler, you need to hit that tournament and do very, very, very well. Also, Flow Nationals is good. It's called Fargo, right? Junior Nationals. It's also, there's a cadet division. I would go there as a cadet and a junior. That's a freestyle option. So I would hit, those are the 3 big national tournaments we're talking about. So you have to do that. State medalist a few times, obviously, right? Not necessarily being the state champ. And just because your son is a state champion, they can be a 4-time state champion from, Virginia or Kentucky or Arkansas, Louisiana. And I'm not knocking those states, but they're not that competitive. All right. You can be Louisiana good. That doesn't mean a whole lot. We got to get out there on the national level. Missouri's a great wrestling state, probably number 12 in the nation, number 10, number 8. I don't know. It's the upper third probably, but still in Missouri. A lot of college coaches don't come watch a Missouri State tournament. They go to Ohio, they go to California, they go to Pennsylvania, they're at New Jersey, right? Maybe some New York, certainly California. So, being Missouri good doesn't get you a whole lot. And plus, let's be honest, some states have 6 or 7 state champions per weight class. There's 6 there's 6 divisions. Indiana has 1 state champ. You win the Indiana state title, your phone rings, okay? You win the California state champ, New Jersey, 1 state champion per weight class, and they're unbelievable wrestling states. Your phone rings. So don't think just because your kid's a state champion a few times, if there's 7 state champions in every weight class and you're in you're like in West Virginia or a small wrestling state or South Carolina, that doesn't carry a lot of weight, right? So you want to be a state medalist a few times, but you also have to put that with a national level. And I'm not talking about wrestling NAIA, junior college, Division II, Division III. I'm talking about wrestling Division I and big time Division I, what they're looking for, all right? So national level success, winning it, being an All-American or coming very close, being a part of the pile, right? The national rankings could also help. The college people say rankings don't count. That's bull crap, all right? Those are locker room pep talks. It matters, right? Sure, I can be ranked ahead of you and you can beat me, all right? But still, being ranked is good. Anytime you're ranked, it's good, okay? And if you're not ranked, it's not good. Now, you can be not unranked, or you can be ranked number 17th in the nation and win the national title in college. That happens too. But for the most part, the college coaches do look at the college rankings, the high school national rankings, and you want to get ranked, okay? And if you're not, that's fine. Go to the national tournaments and win that. You'll be ranked. So winning solves all problems. Number 2, grades and scores. Grades and scores are not as important in the beginning than winning. You say, well, grades are more important than anything. Well, guess what? The college coaches disagree. That's second. They're not going to recruit GPAs. They're recruiting who gets their hand raised. That's who I want, right? Grades come second. Grades are more important. Once they pull you in and they have you on the phone and they're recruiting you, then they worry about your grades. But just as far as getting noticed, that's second, right? It's like a job interview. If you want to be a dentist, you have to have a dentist degree, all right? Once you have it, if I'm a dentist company and I'm looking for 5 new dentists, I'm not going to recruit. I'm going to recruit from the current graduates or people who already have a degree in the dental career. Then I can look at how did you do in dental school, but I don't care how you did in the beginning. All right, I can't recruit carpenters to be a dentist. So I'm looking at who's winning as a dentist, right? Same thing in wrestling. So grades are number 2 because that's the next thing they look at. Once they have their pool, they might be looking for 197 pounders. They have 6 or 7 on their radar list. Now they're asking, okay, now let's see these guys' grades. Okay, you 3 are out. I got 4 left. Okay, so now we're getting down to narrowing it down. So now we're looking at grades and test scores, who can make it in the classroom. Remember, the colleges get graded on the grades, their GPAs. It used to be the whole athletic departments got graded. About 15 years ago, it changed. The wrestlers have to have a GPA, the softball players, the golfers, the football. Everybody, it gets graded. So, a couple of dumb wrestlers can't get bailed out by the smart female tennis team. Everybody's responsible. So these coaches, if they bring someone in who can't have success in the academics, it could ruin their team GPA. They're not going to take that chance because their job is on the line, right? So grades and test scores, that's number 2 for the whittling down process. Number 3 is the personal stuff. They're gonna do some research. They're gonna look at your social media account, and if you say, well, my son has a hidden social media account. He goes by the name Sean John, but his name is really Mark Smith. They can find you, right? They're gonna look at your team and look at who the team followers are. Look at the team's Facebook page. Contact the friends of the parents and so forth. And somebody makes a mention of your kid, boom, they go to his page. He's bonging a beer, he's smoking pot, he's out, right? So you got to make sure that they're good kids. They're going to do some research, and they do call. I get calls all the time, and I don't lie about anything because I don't want to burn my bridges with these coaches, right? We've had over $3 million in college wrestling scholarships come from our academy, and I don't burn bridges with them. I'll tell them it's just like it is, So they're going to make some phone calls. They're going to check their coaches. If you go to any of the famous camps, those coaches are good to put on that list too. They're going to call counselors. They're going to do some background checks on these kids, and they're going to try to find out who can make it. If you need pushed in the weight room, if you need me to get you up out of bed in the morning on a Monday and take you to class, if I need to make you, I'm not, these college coaches, they're not going to cut weight with you at 10:30 at night on a Thursday because you make weight at 10:30 in the morning on a Friday. They're not doing it. They're not going to take you to class. They're not going to study with you. They're not going to work out with you. They're not going to motivate you. They're not going to make sure you go to the weight room. They're not going to make sure, they're not going to do anything. They're going to kick you out, take your money, and give it to somebody else, okay? And you say, that's not right. Well, no, it's perfect. It's beautiful. They're giving you money to compete. It's like a job, right? You're not going to chase your employees around, and you don't expect your boss to chase you around. You have coworkers. If you're on a construction site, you expect your coworker to pull his weight, right? If he doesn't pull his weight, you have more work to do. Well, the college coaches are the same way. They have a job. If they don't win, they get fired. Now, sure, maybe not the small Division 2 and 3 schools. They have a team, they're probably fine. It's kind of like the high schools. You're at a famous high school where, they recruit kids and they're competing for the national level. Same way. If you're at a normal high school coach, the athletic director probably doesn't give a crap if you win or not. It's like, dude, do your job, stay out of my hair, I'm happy. We're all just fighting for our retirement, right? So colleges can be that way as well, but the top colleges, which is what we're talking about, they lose their job. I guarantee you, Ohio State, he'll lose his job if he doesn't win. So they're not going to roll the dice on your kids. So being competitive, grades is number 2. Then they dig into the personal stuff, because they want to make sure that you are doing everything right. The worst thing you can do as a parent is drag your feet and not get serious and then say, oh my God, my son's crying because he wants to wrestle in college and he's a junior and he's won state in Kentucky or North Dakota. What can I do? And then they contact, I get some contacts like this as well, campers and so forth. Can you make some calls for him? He's just a good kid. He's a good boy. He gets very good grades. His teachers will write letters. He just needs a shot, Nick. All he needs is a chance. If he had a chance, I know he can do this. They don't care. And you're wasting your breath. How about this? My kid just got 4th at Flow Nationals as a sophomore, and he beat the senior who just signed with the University of Illinois. Boom, that will do it. Write that down on his resume. Put that match on YouTube. Email that link all across America to all the Division I famous coaches all over the nation. Their email addresses are on the websites, right, of their school. Then you email them the transcripts and say, hey, my son's only a sophomore, but, he's hitting grand slams and home runs. Here's some famous camps he goes to. Those coaches will vouch for him. He trains year-round, right? So some of these things are things that you can do, but don't contact a coach or someone and just act like, they're going to take a chance on your kids just because they're good boys and they work hard and they're nice kids and they deserve a shot. It just comes down to winning, okay? So winning, then grades, which is just as important, but, they got to get you in the door first, and then the personal stuff. And make sure, as far as your personal stuff, people are saying good things about you, Make sure your social media is clean and on point, because these coaches, they need somebody who's going to get the job done. And also remember this. If you do want to wrestle anywhere in college, it can be a small NAI school, which I think is beautiful. I wrestle at Oklahoma State, and I don't think I'm better than anybody else. And I don't feel like I'm inferior to the Olympic champs. People who did better than me at wrestling. People make more money than you, more money than me. I mean, as long as we're having great success and we're happy, that's the most important thing. So I'm very excited when my athletes get a chance to wrestle at an NAI school or Division III or whatever. I'm super excited for them. And I've had a lot of kids who could have wrestled Division I, but they can only get a 10% scholarship. So they're like, man, the NAI school, they're offering me a full ride to go to Lindenwood University. And, this college in town, or, my in-state Division I school is only offering 5%. I don't want to have $140,000 of debt. So I'm going to give up my Division I dream, and I'm going to go to school and wrestle here at a smaller level, and I'm going to go for free, right? Well, you're going to work for it, but you get the idea. But what if you don't want to give up the dream? Well, you want to get 50% of your school paid for. You get another 20% because your grades are awesome. Some of these things can make a big difference. But if you're someone who wants to wrestle at a big time school or a small school or a big time school and actually get some money, you need to be signing these scholarships, or signing these letters of intent at 17. So you don't have a lot of time. So you should not be patient. Don't just keep working hard. Don't pat your kids on the head and say, you just work hard, it's going to happen one day. No, it won't. Everybody works hard. It's like when parents say, oh, my kid's a good citizen, he's just a good boy. He was on student council. Well, guess what? Penn State and Oklahoma State, they're recruiting world champions. Seriously, the cadet and junior world team members, the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th graders, they compete for the freestyle national title, and if they win, they get to compete overseas in the world championships. They're beating Russians and Iranians, right? So I guarantee you, anybody who's a 2-time world champion in high school is also a good boy. They also are a good citizen. Their teachers love them. They probably have great grades too. They probably could pass drug tests. They probably don't smoke. They probably don't drink beer. Their social media accounts are clean because they're good kids. They're probably a little bit dorky, and all they do is work out and focus on wrestling, okay? So that doesn't carry a lot of weight because, the really great elite wrestlers, they're also good kids. They're also good, have good grades. Probably better than everybody else. They also train year-round, probably more than most of your kids, right? So you want to raise your level of training, raise your level of seriousness. Don't be patient. Make sure they're getting to the top trainers and camps and workout partners from the time they're 11, 12 years old, and they start hitting the national tournaments. Not the Louisiana Nationals. I'm talking the big youth and middle school nationals. Get into the national dual circuit for middle school. Then get into the off-season national duels for your teams, for your high school states, for your states, right? Cadet and junior duels. Go to Flow Nationals in Virginia Beach. Go to Virginia Beach all 4 years. Hit preseason nationals in Iowa. It's almost 2019. If you watch this video 2, 3, 4 years from now, there might be a few more tournaments. But right now, Super 32, go there every year. Middle school through high school, every year. Start learning how to compete against these top athletes. Because again, at 17, the famous college coaches need to be calling you. You're still a little boy, right? You don't have until you're 29. You can get your high school diploma as an 80-year-old man or woman. You want to be a college wrestler? You only have until you're 17. Sure, maybe 20% of the athletes can get a college wrestling scholarship lined up their senior year or after their senior year. But most of us, I tell my kids, at 17, you're 13, you wear Iowa Hawkeye stuff to practice, you want to wrestle for the Iowa Hawkeyes, you better be signing a letter of intent in 4 years. You're halfway through season, you have 3.5 years. 3.5 years, and that famous Tom Brands needs to be coming to your house, talking to your mom and dad, because you don't have a lot of time. So there's some insight on wrestling, big time Division I wrestling, what they're looking for, what it takes. Good luck. If I can help in any other way, let us know. You can check us out at purlerwrestling.com. We have our summer camps. They've sold out almost every year for 16 years. We have our own 17,000 square foot training center just outside of St. Louis. We have a 3-day competition camp this weekend. Kids coming in most times from as far away as last camp, Maryland, Washington State, Oregon. They fly in from all over the place to train with us. Our academy, we go once a week year round. I'll have kids driving in tomorrow night from Indiana. They drive 8 hours round trip for a 2.5-hour practice. So we're doing great things. If you want to get involved with purlerwrestling.com, you can check us out online. But if you're interested in our camps, I'd sign up soon. We generally sell out pretty quick. Good luck.